My name is Sam Trimble. I'm a marketing and technology director with West, a WFG company, and today I'm joined by Tom Baughman out of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, rep with WFG National Title, who, since I very first met, it was made clear to me that recruiting was not only one of Tom's passions, but also one of the things at which he is absolutely incredibly talented. So thanks, Tom, for hanging out with us today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we're going to start with a little bit of a presentation from Tom with a few slides, and then we're going to go into a further deep dive. But thanks so much for being with us today. We're going to talk about the top 3 ways to improve your title company's recruiting efforts. And Tom, I will go ahead and share this screen.
Awesome.
And we will get
moving. Awesome.
Thank
you, Sam. Yeah, definitely. More and more I'm hearing across the board that recruiting efforts, not only in title, but in many industries it's been a pain point for everybody. And I just checked, the unemployment rate right now is 6%. So, I mean, and then they're saying also the shortage, it's going to go till 2022. And that's a lot to do with the COVID and all that pandemic. And hopefully things will, as Sam mentioned, things will get back to normal. People will start to get more and more more ready to move to the next role. So, but we're going to go over some of the things that I've found in my experience that will help you out and help the other aspects of recruiting, and will maybe make it easier for you. To kind of start off, we're going to go over recruiting 101. So some of the do's and don'ts, really the biggest thing is be prepared and be ready to interview and understand what you're looking for. So one of the things you want to do is, figure out what your need is and focus on that. So don't just I need help, I just want to hire somebody. Kind of pinpoint and set up a game plan of what that person will be doing and really focus on finding that talent. Don't go into an interview. I don't know how many times we've all done this. I've done it. Printing off the resume as you're walking to the interview and looking at it for the first time and thinking, yep, I got to ask about this. You're not prepared. Have that list of questions ready to go, and do yourself a favor and look over that resume. Interviewing, there's many different aspects of interviewing. So you got to look at not only your traditional, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Get a little creative with it. There's many different ways to interview. There's different styles. One of the ones that I truly believe in, and I think is one of the best, is called behavioral interviewing. So it's going to look at different tendencies and different characteristics of that candidate. So how you interview them and how they respond is what you're going to look for. So one of the methods that I used in my past life was called the STAR method. So it's going to be situation, tasks, actions, and results. So what that means is I'm interviewing Sam, and I'm going to ask for a specific situation. Tell me a time that you closed a mortgage transaction and there was a hiccup. So you're asking for the situation. What was the task at hand? What was the action that they took and the results? So it's easy for people to BS their way through interviewing. There's so many smooth talkers out there. I've been fooled. I consider myself one of the better recruiters. I've been tricked. You just got to dig through that. And by using the STAR method, because there's so many layers, it's hard for them to manipulate that. So that's what that does. It's really truly looks for the key characteristics of what you should be looking for when interviewing: the character, the reliability, the honest folks. Those are the ones that you want to bring in, the ones that are hardworking and honest. Then the last and most important thing for recruiting 101 is the clear and precise job description. I don't know how many times I've recruited somebody, got them hired with the hiring manager. They were awesome. They were phenomenal. Everybody was happy. A month or two later, they quit. Why? Because there wasn't clear expectations. They were maybe doing something that they didn't realize they would be doing, and it's something that they didn't like. So that's very, very important, because it costs a lot of money and time and energy to recruit. So if you're not being forefront and honest with these candidates, it's going to hurt you in the long run. So transparency, being clear is truly a must.
I think it's interesting for me because I think that goes back to, I remember writing my first resume, right? And I made it sound like, I think I was like trying to get a job as like an assistant manager at Abercrombie or something in high school. And I made this resume sound like I had like operated a multinational corporate, like,
Yep.
I was a busboy at a Mexican restaurant in town, like but I made it sound like something that it totally wasn't. And I think people do that sometimes with job descriptions too. So one thing there, right? Like, be precise about what the job is. It doesn't do anybody any good if you make it sound like it's some glamorous, incredible position, and then your candidate gets hired, they're there. It's not what they thought it was going to be at all, and you're starting all over. So
exactly,
just like I made mistakes on my first resumes, making it sound like I had all kinds of crazy experience that I didn't, I think employers need to keep that in mind too, to save a lot of, like you said, a lot of time and a lot of money, frankly, in the long run.
Exactly. Next is passive versus active candidates. So to define this, passive are the folks that have a job already. They're not looking, they're happy where they're at. And then the actives are the ones that are actively pursuing another position. Maybe they're out of work, or they're just not happy or satisfied with their current position. I found in my experience, passive tend to be the better candidates, because they're the ones that are not job hopping. They're more of a dedicated, loyal candidate. Not to say that active candidates are not bad. I know that in the past, I preferred passive. So how do you capture these candidates? With passive, the way I always tell people to look at recruiting like a sales position. So when you're, as a company, as a title agent, you're out selling your business to get those clients to come in to give you work, give you business. Same thing with recruiting. You're networking, you're selling your business to these candidates, these top candidates, to come work for you. So that's the best thing with passive candidates. And I'll talk about some things down the line here with like LinkedIn and job boards to kind of capture those folks as well. But networking is key. Building that that little tribe and knowing people within the industry is huge. And prospecting and using your Boolean searches is key as well. So again, I'll talk about LinkedIn, but if you're not sure about Boolean searching or prospecting, it is kind of an art form. So there's many different articles and YouTube videos on the internet that shows you how to utilize these. Definitely great resource to check out. And feel free to reach out to your rep, and I'd be happy to show you how to utilize Boolean as well. So, but prospecting, getting out there, networking, going to different events, the PLTA or excuse me, the Alta conferences, different things like that. Don't focus so much on just hiring them right then and there, but building that network and that contacts that maybe down the road, they may be looking and they would be the one to call on you rather than you chasing them down. Hiring manager expectations is another key point. I don't know how many times I've had sent probably hundreds of resumes to hiring managers, and they're just, nope, that's not it. Every hiring manager has their specific ideal person. And as a recruiter, we need to be focused on trying to find that person. But as a hiring manager, you want to kind of think outside the box, because let's face it, within the title industry, getting old, the work workforce. I don't want to discriminate, but it's kind of a, I don't want to say a dying profession, but folks are getting older and we need to cycle in newer talent to grow that. So I always say, look for those diamonds in the rough. Look for those folks that have great work ethic, that are trustworthy, that are loyal, that are willing to learn and have the eagerness to grow. That's what you want to look for. You grow and develop that. And that's something else we'll talk about is training and building that workforce within your own organization. Because what's nice too is now you can mold them to fit your needs specifically, work and handle things how you want it done. But last but not least, don't fall for fool's gold. I don't know how many times I've been tricked by fast talkers. I mean, there's some people out there that are good. They can feed you a line. You just got to weed through that. And that's why it's important to have clear expectations and really focus on utilizing other resources like other managers to help you interview. And then lastly, I mean, in my past life, I was looking for a salesperson in a specific market. It literally took us 2 years. So what time, and I think that was at the point where we had a conversation with the hiring manager and realized you're looking for a purple unicorn. You're looking for the like alien of beyond, like you're not going to find that. It's something that you have to kind of change your perspective on. So
I'm gonna transition just a little bit into. I had a few questions that I wanted to ask, and again, I'll be monitoring the chat here on Zoom and also on Facebook Live. But you mentioned job boards, right?
Yeah.
So there's a million things now. You know, LinkedIn, Indeed, Zip, Dice, Monster. What are your favorites? What do you find most successful?
Absolutely. So it really depends what you're looking for. I found that although they're all nice and they all work in their own way, I found that Dice is going to be great for any technology or folks that are high level from that perspective, technology. LinkedIn is great. It's a great resource to not only build your brand, but to look for those high level candidates. It has a lot more functionality to it. It can be a little tricky, but what's nice is Sam actually does a webinar that kind of helps you out with LinkedIn. So that's something you can ask your agent rep about. But it's a great resource. Indeed, Dice, Monster, they're cheaper. They're more bang for your buck, I guess. But the quality of candidates aren't necessarily the best or what you're looking for. So I would say LinkedIn would probably be my top choice because the professional level and the higher quality.
Yeah, I love one of my favorite statistics from that LinkedIn class, Tom, that you've had to sit through with me multiple times. So I'm sorry, but it's every minute, 3 people are hired using LinkedIn just in the US alone.
Yep.
So if people think LinkedIn is just for networking and not for actual career advancement and recruiting and stuff, then it's a brave new world and they're wrong, right? So that's something really cool to keep in mind. So I go through Indeed. I hear good things about Indeed too with some of the agents I meet with around the country. But so I go through those. I'm not finding anything. When is it time for me to start thinking about a staffing agency or headhunters of some kind?
Absolutely. So this is a great resource. There's so many good ones out there. I can name a couple right off the top of my head that I've used in the past, especially larger title agents. They'll usually maybe have a recruiting team on there, but for smaller agents, sometimes it's hard because you're doing closings, you're doing all this other stuff. You really don't have the resources or the time to focus on that. So maybe if it's somebody like you're looking for a director of operations or somebody that's really high level that maybe you're second in command or something, or even if you're looking to hire a mass amount, so maybe like 20, 30 folks or something along those lines, that's when you would want to maybe consider it. It does come with a price. Usually it is about a 20% fee of the salary. And then depending on the agency, there may be a retainer as well. I always say that's a last resort, but usually they have pools of candidates that can provide you instant resumes. And usually they have like a established connection with a lot of folks within the industry.
It's funny because you mentioned the cost of some staffing and headhunters and stuff like that. And that always makes me think, I think some of the best headhunters are, employee referrals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as an independent agent in Texas and New Mexico, there's a few people that I used to work with on the call. So, hey guys, but I found that our own staff was often such a great recruiter because we all know each other, right? In the industry.
Yep.
There's no college degree for what we do. We all trained in it. Most of us are very passionate about it. And so we all kind of know each other. And so I kind of love the idea of referral rewards for your own employees. Hey, Tom, we're looking for X. If you know anybody that ends up working out, we'd be glad to do some type of a bonus or a commission structure on bringing that person in, maybe even based on if they're an income producing position, maybe even based on that for a year or two. Because it ends up being there's so many people within your own company that know people everywhere else. So that made me just think of that. And then when you start thinking about in today's world where it is incredibly busy, there is not enough hours in the day. I don't have time to wait to find somebody and train them up and help familiarize them with what they're going to be doing. So what do you think about temps versus, directs?
Absolutely. So it can be a little tricky at times with temps. It kind of comes with a bad label, but it's a great opportunity as well to help because our industry goes up and down a lot. And what's nice about this is there's some folks that they aren't looking for a full-time job, or maybe they're just looking to make some extra cash around the holidays or during off seasons or whatever it may be. And that's a great resource to help level your workload in that time. And then that way you don't have to worry about keeping them on if like the busy season dies off or whatever. But it's also a great way to get those folks in the door and start training them and building them up. And then who knows, they may become a rock star. Then you bring them on full time. So it's a great resource to kind of help supplement that workforce when there's a lot of unknowns. So we like for this next year or so, we don't know what's going to happen. Is it going to continue to climb? Is it going to decline? Everybody has their opinion. So right now, I know a lot of people are busy. So it's quick. Usually for the temp agencies, they can get you staff on Monday. You tell them what you need and they're ready to go to start on Monday. So
we had some really good luck with temps that started as kind of receptionists and maybe doing a little order entry or something like that.
Yeah.
You saw how methodical and precise and type A they were. They transitioned into maybe an escrow assistant. And I think some of them now may even be full on escrow officers that are killing it, So I think you're right. People kind of say temp, we don't want to go down that road, but it's a great way to feel the need. Like now you're exactly, you call them on Thursday, there's somebody starting Monday morning.
Yep.
Right. Like
exactly.
So we've established we're good. How do we keep people? Like this kind of goes into the cultural part, which I get really excited about. So I have all kinds of notes, but how do we keep the good ones in a market like now when they're getting pinged all the time?
Absolutely. I just read an article that LinkedIn put out that they're saying about 74% of the workforce is hunkering down during this time frame. So my theory, my opinion is we're going to see in the next few months, exactly. We're going to see people, all right, I'm stable. I'm not worried about if I go here, because let's face it, this past year has been nuts. It's been uncertain. We don't know what's going on. So people are more inclined to stay put. but like I said, that's going to change. So first and foremost is to keep those folks is company culture. I think so many people don't realize how important this is. So you brand your marketing for sales. So you want your consumer to think you're the best company out there. That's the same thing you should be doing for your employment brand as well. Because so many people, I guarantee every single person in here thinks their agency or their company is the best hands down, which is great. That's the way you should be thinking, but don't be too cocky about it. Think about this. Not everybody's going to think your brand is the best. So focus on creating the best brand. Get on social media and broadcast what great things you do with your employees and everything like that. And really,
I want to stop on that thing because I think it's so important, Tom. Like, I love that you just said that, because so Southwest Airlines is one of the companies I think of that, 10, 15, 20 years ago would put their employees, their teammates, as the focus of their advertising.
Yep.
So fast forward to 2021. I love the idea of showing appreciation and gratitude and celebratory things, birthdays, work anniversaries for your employees on your social media, on your website, on your YouTube channels, because it does a couple things. One, it's a great way to retain top talent when you show that we are grateful for you. It's also a byproduct. It's a great recruiting tool. People see that like, man, look at how much this company appreciates their team. They tell people how much they appreciate their team. That's the kind of place I want to work. And so that was something that I actually wrote down here, appreciating publicly recruits new employees.
Exactly. And everybody thinks like, oh, it's all about the monetary value. Like I don't know how many times I'm seeing like signing bonus. Like that's all good. But let's face it, I do come to work for a paycheck, but I also like the fact that I'm learning. There's rewards. They care about my well-being, the organization. I mean, everybody that I've come across as an employee candidate, they want to work for someone or an organization that they're proud of, that they can tell people, oh yeah, I work at XYZ company and we're awesome. We take care of people. I feel that is a driving factor. So if you can create an employment brand where people are proud to come to work, and that will attract more, because let's face it, I mean, you look at the Googles, the Amazon, stuff like that. People like working there because they feel like it's a great environment. And one of the things about it is the growth as well, creating growth opportunities. Don't just like, some people want to stay stagnant. They just want to stay where they're at, do their job, go home, boom, be done. But so many of the good ones want to continue to grow. So create those avenues. It might be they start out as a processor and move them up to a escrow assistant or an escrow, like give them that like route, and they'll have that drive and ambition. They're not worried about going anywhere else because they see a goal and then a finish line that they want to get to. So that's really the biggest thing, is not everybody's obsessed with money. It's those other items that will keep those good people.
A couple quick thoughts on that point for me too is like, one, I think it's really important to embrace a work-life balance. WFG and the WFG family of companies is really good about embracing a work-life balance. I've been in places in the past where like you went on vacation for a few days and like you didn't want to post a picture on social media because everyone would be upset that you were on vacation, and it turned into this thing. Like creating a place where we know you're going to work hardest when you're rested and when you're, invigorated and excited. And the only way you're going to do that is if you take some time off from time to time.
Exactly.
Keep it a reasonable time. And so I think promoting that as a company, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be crazy late hours and weekends and stuff. This is a crazy business, and we all know that. But being able to promote the healthiness of being able to step back from time to time and be supported when you do that, not judged or criticized. And then one other thing that I love, I got really big into recruiting with our agency in Texas and New Mexico. And It became something that was really fun for me to do. It was a fun challenge.
Mhm.
And I realized, I was so busy thinking about growing that I didn't take as good of care, or I wasn't as mindful with the staff that we had. So I remember there would be times, during the summer months, which the whole last year has been like a summer for all of us, just busy.
Yeah.
I did little things. I found a licensed masseuse that for $100 an hour had their own little chair and would come in, and we'd set them up in a room and they'd do chair massages for a few hours. People could go in there. And one other thing too, like, we're amongst friends, so I can say this. There's always a little bit of a struggle between like the escrow side, or like the closers, and like the examiners and the readers and the people that aren't necessarily the face at the closing. And so making sure, but they're all incredibly important. I mean, you need every single one of them. And so when I began to include more of the, readers and examiners and some of the admins, it was amazing what that would do with that culture.
Yep.
Like, hey, hey, exam staff, we're bringing in a masseuse for you guys today for a couple hours. Take your time, go in when you have 10 or 15 minutes, and we really appreciate you, and we wanted to help you relax. That stood out because most people focus on the faces
Yep.
of the company, the closers, the people that are in front of clients. And so that was something that worked for me. When it's really hot, I'd go around every once in a while and get a ton of Sonic shakes and just show up at the offices and hand them out, and just try and be kind of that cheerleader to not only tell people we appreciate you, but I also know how slammed you are right now. And I know it kind of probably sucks. Like, this is a lot, but
Yep.
a little something to show that I care. And it goes a long, long way.
And
Go ahead.
I was just going to piggyback on that, because I think too, the appreciation, like, I think that means more than anything. Just knowing that you're appreciated, that I know you're working your butt off for us, and we thank you for it, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be successful. So just showing that appreciation goes a long way.
Statistically speaking, there is a very large amount of people that one of their 5 love languages is words of affirmation. So we don't think of a professional like love languages. That's like you're going through a relationship counseling or something, like,
Yep.
or like you're a nerd
Right.
about psychological stuff like me. But it's the same thing in the workplace. Words of affirmation. There are a lot of people who, like, that's cool. You cut them a $500 check and as a bonus, congratulations for doing XYZ. There are a lot of people that if a company-wide email went out, or a little blurb in the Sunday paper went out saying, hey, Tom just accomplished this, we're really proud of him and so excited he's a part of our team, that means so much more than a $500 gift card to Amazon. Not that those aren't cool and people appreciate those too, but words of affirmation, that is huge. So I love that you just said that. I want to kind of start to wrap up a little bit, but one of the last things to think about, as you said, I mean, the retirement rates during COVID, by the way, were unbelievable, where people finally just like in our industry, where people just said, you know what, this is insane. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to retire. So succession planning is really important. Having a backup plan for when that star employee leaves or quits, or, God forbid something else happens. So can we talk a little bit about succession planning?
Absolutely. And it goes back to like your work-life balance. I mean, we want our employees to be able to go off and enjoy their vacation without like, hey, how do I do this again? And that's a succession planning. We don't want anybody to leave, but things happen. If somebody were to leave, or somebody were to up and quit, or you have to terminate that person, unfortunately, or whatever it may be, or they go on vacation, you want to have that plan that somebody else knows how to deal with that. I don't know how many times, especially in this industry, these roles, there's always that one person. That one, oh yeah, Sally, she's our go-to person. She handles all the remittances, or she handles all the post-close stuff. Well, what happens when Sally leaves? I don't know. So that you want to be prepared. And if anything COVID should have taught us is you should always be prepared. What if like the office floods? Be ready to work from home and just basically have that backup plan, and be prepared for those outside forces that you have no control of. And honestly, it goes back to cross training. And I remember when I first started in this industry, I remember everybody told me, and I had a great manager. She taught me the way she learned, handling the file from A to Z. I mean, people used to have those files all over the office. Now, so many people just know one portion of the process. It became an assembly line process. So show your employees all aspects of the industry. That will make them feel more valuable. That will help them step in, because exam might be slow, but you're getting killed on closings. They can hurry up and jump over and help out with closings. That will take the stress off of your other closers. That way they're not so stressed out and they want to leave. So having those plans and those backups are so crucial.
So one thing I would just say to kind of tail on to that as we wrap up is, I think when we're thinking of succession and replacing star employees and things like that, we focus a lot on onboarding, which I think is really important, right? Like I tried, anytime it was someone that I had a hand in recruiting, I tried to make sure the day they started, there was a ball cap in a Yeti cup and a couple shirts, and everyone knew they were there, and it was exciting, right? Like little swag just to kind of get people excited to be there. And of course, in addition to having a smooth, like technical onboarding process, but we focus more on onboarding and not offboarding, right? So your former employees, they don't all have to leave in like a tizzy, right? Like it can be a good positive thing based on how the offboarding process works. And those people recruit for you.
Yep.
You say, man, you know what? It was a great job and I loved working there. Maybe they went to another part of the real estate industry. Maybe they retired. Maybe it wasn't because of something, weird. It was just the natural progression of their career or their life. And if they were a fan of how they were treated on the way out, they're going to promote you to other people. So, right.
That is perfect. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it goes back to the interviewing as well. Even though you might not select that person, give them a great experience, because if they walk away and say, I didn't get it, but you know what, they were awesome and they were great with me, they're going to tell somebody else that might be a great fit that they had a good experience. And
or
that
the opposite.
Exactly.
I've had both. I've had offboarding that was really cool, and I've had offboarding that I'm like, ugh. You know? So it leaves an impression, and those people will have those conversations. So I think
exactly.
This was awesome, Tom. You're the man.
Yeah,
I'm so thankful to work alongside you. And at the end of the day, I think there were a lot of things here that would be helpful. I'm going to share my screen one more time. If you would like to talk to Tom about any of this kind of stuff, you can absolutely reach out to your rep who can connect you. Tom's info is right there. My info is right there. There's a little splash page if you scan that QR code. That's another fun thing I like to talk about. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that WFG as a company and the way you all are set up is a rising tide. And if you can help your clients and customers become more successful, then in turn, WFG will become more successful too. So hopefully this was helpful. Tom, thanks for spending half an hour with me, some knowledge.
Absolutely. This was a blast, and I probably could have talked for another hour and a half. So hopefully we'll have another follow-up and maybe talk more and dive deeper. Definitely was just scratching the surface of what recruiting is and what's out there. So definitely enjoyed this. And thank you so much, Sam, for helping me out with this and having me here. And again, feel free to reach out to your reps, or Sam or I. We're here to help. And I know like Sam said, WFG is so focused on helping and supporting our agents. And this is just one of the ways we can help.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And thanks to everybody who joined us today. There was a really good amount of you on here. So I appreciate you spending half an hour with us. And it's already Wednesday. So I hope everybody has a great Wednesday, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.